All right, my friends, welcome to episode 240 of Prof and Dev Play Games. My name is Larry, the professor, down in San Diego, California, and over there is Anthony, the dev, up there in Seattle, California. That's not right.
Yeah, totally.
Part of our Western Pact, or Western Alliance, or whatever we have.
Yeah. Clearly, cities don't fall into that all the time.
No, definitely not.
Because your beaches had some reopening. I know Orange County did as well.
Yeah.
Like, some beaches, but not all. And from news, I'm seeing it from news. Like Santa Monica and stuff is open, but people have to be moving still, and like the police are enforcing it. Like you can't just stand there or go in the water. Like you have to just be walking or moving along.
What a weird thing to enforce.
Yeah, they're just like, no loitering at all.
Right.
Like you're out to move and get away and keep your distance from people. But not all beaches. I heard Orange County, there's some pictures from like a beach in Orange County. I don't remember which specific one, where it's just like, oh my god, that's a lot of people.
Same thing as San Diego, right? San Diego, they opened up the Encinitas Beach and they're just hanging out, surfing, hanging out with each other like there's no reason not to. It just blows my mind. Just reminds me of the spring break video about those kids who were down in Florida and they're like, if I get COVID, man. Like, okay. People dying every day of this shit, and some people just don't care.
Yeah, I mean, they're just thinking of themselves and they're like, fine, I get it, and I die, whatever. But it's not just you is the problem.
That's the thing.
A virus and anything like that.
You're a conduit to give it to people, anyone who happens to cross paths with you.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's so frustrating. Is this so selfish? And I know we rant about this at the beginning of every podcast, so maybe we'll stop there and talk about what we're talking about this week, which is about there's some news this week or news today even, in fact, that the announcement of Assassin's Creed Valhalla or Assassin's Creed Ragnarok is imminent. And it seems like the achievements have leaked online at the end of last month. So
really? Already?
There's a little news piece here. I'm going to open this up. But it sounds like we might even get an announcement this next week, according to these rumors. Who knows if that's true? Because rumors, you never know if they're true.
Yeah. And honestly, everything's so up in the air right now for these game companies on what their timetables are for announcing anything at this point, because all their major events where they would announce this stuff are gone. So I'm sure all the marketing teams are like, well, we'll just figure it out now. We're winging it now, doing it live.
I feel like that's what my entire job is right now. Like figuring out how to do it remote on the fly.
Yeah, figure it out. Achievements? Really?
Well, the achievements contain references to Norse mythology and then a player being able to upgrade settlements and go on raids.
Okay.
So, it's a leak and who knows, but I feel like Ubisoft leaks are generally, they leak pretty badly, so would not be surprised if this was true. But to have some sort of home base that you're upgrading sounds interesting.
That doesn't completely surprise me. It's not out of the blue for the series either.
Didn't it have in Assassin's Creed 2, didn't you upgrade your house or something like that?
Yeah, you had stuff there. You had your villa that you did minor stuff with. Brotherhood had you doing a lot. Like you didn't have a villa, but you did a lot to in Rome itself of bringing banks under your control and stuff, and upgrading your network to Black Flag had you upgrading your ship.
Right.
So it's not that I think is a thing that has been done before and makes sense in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
it's a good way to track meta progression and just progression through the game. And
I mean, even Odyssey had that, upgrading your ship.
Yeah, exactly. I forget that Odyssey has ships too.
How?
I guess it's not as prominent as Black Flag, where it was you are a pirate, your ship is life.
I started playing Black Flag, by the way, on the Switch. I got the double pack.
Oh, nice.
Black Flag and Rogue were on sale for $23, which makes it $11.50 or whatever for each.
Yeah.
It runs really well on the Switch.
That's cool.
Probably played 2 hours or so.
Oh, that's cool. I enjoyed Black Flag.
I hated the ship combat, but now that I played through Odyssey, I'm like, I can probably handle this.
You're like, I can get better at this. I mean, it's the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Same combat.
By the way, 2 more achievements. One talks about being able to kill a kraken. Another one about entering the underworld. So, kraken sounds pretty fun.
Yeah, entering the underworld. Yeah, not shock there. Let's see how much they mess with Norse mythology into this, and you skirting the edge of the gods being real in some way.
Right. Oh, and then the DLC will just be fucking batshit fantasy crazy.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Honestly, in some ways, they can just go batshit crazy with anything Norse and Viking set.
I'm glad they didn't release
that mythology is already so just steeped and ready for it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, playing through God of War right now, 2018 God of War, it's just like, yep, that's where I'm at. I'm glad they didn't release it the same year. Assassin's Creed in this one.
That's true.
Oh,
that's a good question. If they're announcing this stuff soon and now, when does this come out? Does this come out in the fall?
I mean, for a certainty.
That's how they did Odyssey. They announced it like it was playable at E3 that I was at. Like that was like the first time I saw a ton of it, and it was out in the fall.
Yeah.
So I assume that's what this is going to do too. So.
Yep. I can, in terms of shareholder and all the stock prices or whatever, but also just in terms of their cadence. I mean, it'll have been 2 years. Like I feel like it's probably ready now.
Oh man. Well, that's cool. I mean, they have a lot to live up to. Odyssey was really good.
Super good.
It's like a high point in the series.
Yeah. I mean, Origins was great too. Odyssey, same thing. I loved Syndicate, even though the fucking sales for that game are abysmal.
I think that's just because it came after Unity, and it took a little bit for them to recover from that.
All right, that sucks because it was such a good game. So what do you think? What do you want out of a new Assassin's Creed?
I want them to keep the open world from Odyssey. The open world, I want to keep the RPG elements. Hell, if they double down on the RPG elements even more, I would be completely okay with that. I mean, we're going into like Norse and the Viking stuff, so I'd love to if the combat system was improved even more. Mm-hmm. Like I feel like they've been improving the combat most iterations of the game. Like it gets better and better. But at this point I'm like, okay, you're going into that Norse mythology thing, and the last game that came out, God of War, in that had really good combat. So,
oh my god, it's unbelievable.
So the bar is very high for that theme,
right?
And that type of combat. Like especially, I assume there'll be like the very stereotypical Norse Viking with axes and everything, two-handed and one-handed axes.
It'd be really funny if they had an axe you could throw and then recall to your hand.
You know they're gonna do it.
That'd be great.
You have to believe they're gonna do it.
Just make a nod to it, man.
I mean, they'll do that. I'm sure there'll be a nod to Marvel Thor stuff. You have to know it's gonna be hidden in there. They'll have Mjolnir or something like that, or a hammer hammers and stuff that you can use. Mind that. I kind of really what I want is just not more of the exact same. Just I'm not looking for a revolutionary game. I'm looking for an evolution of what they've set out and did with Odyssey. Where it feels like Origin to Odyssey to this would be. Mm-hmm. It's like no, I don't want reinvention. I think you've after all this time kind of found your formula. So hone it, make it the best it can possibly be. Cut out the filler junk from it, stuff that isn't necessary.
That I kind of feel like they were trying to go with the Nemesis system from Shadow of War with the mercenaries that follow you around. Yeah. And I just found that annoying more than anything else.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they want to double down on that and make it more meaningful. Because I feel like in Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor, like it was the person who killed you, like they rose up the ranks and like there was like a personal connection, and when they would see you next time they would talk about how they killed you a certain way, or they would talk about how you killed one of their friends a certain way. Like it really added to the story, and I didn't really get that with Odyssey. But I think for me, I would just want them to double down on the story aspect. Like when you talk about the filler, I feel like they were going toward The Witcher 3, interesting side quests and like the main narrative that had some meaningful choices. I feel like the main narrative's choices kind of came down to whether or not you kept your family members. But I'd like to see something, like I'd like to see the ending, and I think this is a problem with a lot of choice-based stories, like to have some very meaningful differences, and then the side quests to be as memorable as like Tower Full of Rats from Witcher 3. To give, I think, God, wasn't there somebody who was working on this game from BioWare?
Oh, I'm sure.
Was here and then just recently left. I can't remember.
Oh, I'm sure. Like,
that's what I want. I want deep, meaningful story that like is hard to forget. Because I feel like Assassin's Creed Odyssey had some of that, but there was so much filler quests as well. It was just like,
it kind of got lost in the sea of all that stuff.
Yes, exactly.
It diluted the more impactful pieces.
Yes, that's right.
We talk about the story choices thing. I was reading an article sometime this week that was talking about like the difference between like Japan developers and Western developers, because you'll see that like in Japan at least there's been a very big focus on the authored story.
For the player authored
just
story?
Like the
developer authored story.
Developer authored story. Very little freedom of choice. Choices are very small, but
it's like Nintendo's whole fucking MO.
But it's Square's MO.
Yep.
It's Capcom. Like a lot of these games, like they're not most of the Japanese developers have really gone into the way of being like, no, we're telling the story.
Right.
You're playing through our story.
Yeah.
Where the Western developers have really taken this like wanting to do wide character choice or procedural generated story where they can, and just really digging into it. And not saying one is better than the other, but like going through FF7 Remake, I did it through Persona 5 before and all these, and like these JRPGs, there's something to be said about a really well crafted story that's just presented to you.
Right.
And how bad the thing can go. Like if you make a story that's all about the player choices and players getting lots of choices, you can mess that up really quickly. If you make those choices amount to meaning nothing. Like Mass Effect 3.
Right. Yes,
like,
exactly.
The ending of that, like this illusion throughout that you player had a lot of choice. When it comes down to it, there wasn't really a whole lot of. None of those choices really mattered in the end.
Well, that's kind of what I'm talking about. That the choice-based narrative is like it's like the diamond, right? Where you like spread out toward the middle and you come toward the same point at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. And, things like God of War, like that I'm playing through right now, or like any of the Naughty Dog games. That's just like one narrative, right? And you can choose to do some of the side quests or not, but like there are no choices. You're just playing their story. And that's also like sometimes it's just really nice. Like I want to experience a story right now, and this is I don't need to be making choices. I just wish that if they're going to go in that direction to keep the story choice that's more meaningful, and I'm not sure exactly how they'll do that, because it like make a bad choice, you don't have a family member, great, okay, that's not enough for me. Yeah,
which is more the thing. I'm like, you either need to go really all in on those choices and really focus on making them super meaningful and impactful, because if you just half-ass it or only go part way, it just comes off as kind of like, okay, I would rather if you just told me what was happening. I don't need the choice. Pulls you out of the game, pulls you out of the story a bit. So maybe to me, I'm like, maybe don't put all the choice into the next game. It's okay. Like, if the choice is how you approach solving different problems in the game, but the story plays out the same way, it may not be a bad thing. But I don't know. It's exciting though. So let's see. Announce this. It comes out in fall. When does Watch Dogs Legion actually come out?
God, I feel like having heard nothing about it, that
they said it was supposed to come out before April 2021, sometime in this fiscal year. That was the delay.
before April 2021, right? So that means
and it was originally supposed to come out March 6th.
Right. So I feel like that's delayed a year, delayed to March 2021, especially now with COVID. I think
so too. Yeah. And the fact that they've just been so radio silent.
Yep. Unless there's something crazy where they're gonna like drop Assassin's Creed next month.
I doubt it.
Seems really dumb.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna drop Assassin's Creed. I can only imagine that's the thing. I expect is it's called Valhalla. Now will be PS4, PS5, Series X. It'll be cross generation, but they will have next gen versions available. No, they confirmed that. Yeah, it confirmed it would be in place PS5 and Series X. So
maybe that's why I was gonna say like a delay has been delayed, but it's not delayed. It would be early because they'd be waiting for E3 because you can't announce some of your like next gen stuff without the next gen consoles being
people talking about it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, this could be a game that would have been on either Microsoft or Sony's stage.
Oh yeah, for sure. Probably Microsoft. They seem to have some sort of relationship with them.
Now they do. It shifts.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Wherever the money is, right?
Yeah. Whoever's paying at this point. Yeah. The last thing that was talked about was, Clint Hawking is the creative lead on Watch Dogs Legion. He's right. He did a bunch of the Splinter Cell stuff.
Early Far Cry stuff?
Early Far Cry stuff, yeah. Splinter Cell, Far Cry. He's been around for a while.
Yeah, that's kind of part of the exciting part is that he's done some really great stuff.
Yeah, I think that game's just going to take... It's very ambitious at what it's trying to do, and I can see it being done very poorly. Not intentionally poorly, just trying to get all the systems to play nice to each other. It would be a really hard game to balance and actually design-wise be balanced and get these systems to all integrate and work together, but then also on the engineering side to make this all work.
Right.
Like, holy shit.
Yeah, I kind of see that getting pushed off for those reasons, plus COVID and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, what do they release this year? Like, is like Assassin's Creed it for
Possibly.
them? Unless they're going to have some sort of crazy, please God, Rabbids announcement. Rabbids is coming out.
I mean, I still don't think they're anywhere near Beyond Good and Evil.
Oh God, no. I don't think so either.
Yeah, some more Division stuff potentially.
Yeah, right. But that's not really a full game release.
No. They've said anything about Beyond Good and Evil 2 in a while? I don't think I've heard anything from it either.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Huh, yeah. I don't know. I think right now it would probably be all in on Assassin's Creed for the time being.
Yep.
Did they have something else that came out at the beginning of the year that people didn't like?
From Ubisoft?
Yeah.
So I know that Breakpoint came out. Was that this year? Because Breakpoint came out and people didn't like it.
It might have been. I think it was Breakpoint.
Yeah. Breakpoint was not loved.
Quarantine. Settlers. Yeah, Breakpoint came out in 2019, so end of the last year. December 18th, 2019. So yeah, didn't even hear about it.
Yeah, right. I just heard it was not great.
Yeah, so... I mean, they did Just Dance, which you've been messing with. They can survive on sales of Just Dance forever.
Well, man, that is fucking hitting our house.
Yeah.
Like, it was free for right now, but the unlimited, which basically lets you play any game from any Just Dance ever released, which is awesome. Oh man, my daughter loves that game. Just crazy.
I mean, they know what they're doing. There's a Just Dance every year, and it just keeps going. So,
yeah. I mean, I bought it
they have a market for it.
It was on sale, and I was like, all right, $20. That sounds good. I want to do some exercise with my wife, and nope, it's my daughter. She wants to play it all the time, which is great.
There you go.
That and another game, which we'll talk about soon, has taken up her gaming time.
Nice. All right, so this is Ubisoft's 2020. So Just Dance 2020, Roller Champions.
Oh yeah, that roller derby game.
Yeah.
Did that come out already?
I have no clue. I don't think so.
Podcast. We don't know. I
No,
thought it did
it's
for
set to
some
be
reason.
released in early 2020, and I don't think it has.
Oh, okay.
So
Free to play.
That's not out. Maybe it's in like open beta.
Yeah, register for the next test phase. Yeah, it's still...
testing. So they're testing.
Yeah.
The Settlers is an upcoming real-time strategy city building game.
Gods and Monsters was supposed to be this year.
Yeah, Gods and Monsters was supposed to be this year. Then there's Watch Dogs Legion, Beyond Good and Evil 2, and Skull and Bones are the other ones that have been announced that just have no dates.
Right.
So they have a bunch of games simmering somewhere in development. I'm sure the COVID stuff has put them a little bit behind, and they want to shift around how they want to put stuff out. But wow, all right. You mentioned like in Odyssey the Shadow of War stuff, Shadow of Mordor, Nemesis stuff.
Yep.
My boss was a design director on those games.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dang.
The lead designer at Systemera, Andre Maguire, was he was at Monolith for a while.
Wow, they did a really amazing job.
Yeah. I told him I was like, oh, you worked on that stuff. That's cool. Yeah, because their Monolith is in Kirkland, Washington. So,
oh wow, okay. I didn't realize.
Yeah, right down the street from the first nursing home here.
That first game was. I haven't played the second one game yet, but that first game was great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Monolith's been around for a long time. I played their games in high school. Yeah, they did a lot of FPSs back in the day. They did a game called Shogo back in '99. Got overshadowed by Half-Life, of course, because every FPS got overshadowed by Half-Life in '99.
Every game probably did.
That, and they did No One Lives Forever. I think that one. Or sorry, I might get that. No, yeah, No One Lives Forever. The female-led James Bond spoofish first-person shooters that everyone wants to come back out, like for good old games to do, but it's in such a legal hell that it's never going to get released again.
Right.
So they're amazing games. Yeah, they did a lot of cool stuff, and then they went through a slump, and then they got bought by Warner Brothers, and then started doing the Lord of the Rings games. And that's where you eventually got the Shadows games.
Yeah, did you ever play Shadow of Mordor?
Nope. I should.
It's like, it feels like Assassin's Creed, but with a Lord of the Rings skin, you know?
There you go.
And then that's funny because then Assassin's Creed stole something from theirs, that Nemesis system. So, yeah, great. I should load up. I keep thinking about what the next game is I'm going to play after God of War, because I'm just really enjoying like the long, I guess it makes sense where we're at right now, but I've been avoiding playing long games, but now I'm at it like every other night for like 2 hours, and it's just nice to kind of sink into something long for a while.
Just get up in Final Fantasy VII. Get up in all shit. Just do it.
I should probably do it.
Just get right up in there and just snuggle into the absolute bizarreness of that game.
I mean, what you told me last week, man, made me really excited for the story, and just like to remake a story in that way, like to just fucking twist it on its head, like, okay, we're gonna do something different, guys.
I've thought about that more and more, and I've been listening and reading some stuff, because there's a couple pieces of FF7 lore that I never even knew existed, which is Najima, the main writer for FF7, he wrote the remake and Advent Children and a bunch of stuff. Like, this dude is the main writer for Final Fantasy VII, and he wrote a couple novels actually that came out before Advent Children came out, setting the stage. And it has some, and they're generally just novels set in the Final Fantasy world, kind of the aftermath between the end of Final Fantasy VII and when Advent Children starts. But before, the short stories, more maybe novelettes. I don't think they're ever translated, but there's a fan translation of these little paragraphs that they put in front of the chapters. And it's basically Aerith's talking about, like, from the perspective of her in the live stream, and Sephiroth in the live stream. Like, it's their perspectives on things, and I read through them, and you read through those, and then you apply it to the story of FF7 Remake, and there's a lot of things that make a lot more sense. Of being like, oh,
that would be it'd be crazy to think about, like Final Fantasy VII that came out 20 years ago. Like, that story was not the story. Like, that was just like a piece of the story that is going to continue to be told over the next 20 years. That's cool.
Yeah, it feels a lot like that. Yeah, and these short story collections were out 10 years ago, maybe. So, like, the guy who wrote 7 has clearly been thinking about this for a long time, and how this whole universe of fiction around Final Fantasy VII all fits together and what it means. And so that made me go, oh, okay, pieces are starting to fit into place there, and we'll see if I have to wait 5 years for more, or if it'll be 3.
Kind of feels like it.
Hopefully not 5. I'm expecting 3.
3 feels normal.
I think 3 will probably be about how much time it takes. I assume it only took 5 years this time because they pulled it back internal and scrapped a couple of years of work. But still, yeah, I highly recommend it. And plus, I don't know, it's been sitting on it. There's just such good character moments in that game. But it's so bizarre. Not even in the, like, timey-wimey sort of way, but in the, like, it's still Final Fantasy, and they're not shying away from the strangeness and the, like, frivolous nature of Final Fantasy, and, like, the enemies, and you're like, fuck, this is so bizarre all the time. There's a Tonberry, there's a Cactuar, there's fat chocobos. You fight a house, a hell house, which is a thing from the original Final Fantasy VII that was just like a rare encounter you could come across.
I was like, I don't remember that from the first part.
It's in the first part. But it's a rare encounter. Like, most people would never have seen it, but it's kind of going on to be like, yeah, there's this monster you can fight that's a fucking house. Like, it's a house. It can suck you in its front door. But it's Final Fantasy, and so everyone's like, sure, whatever, it's hilarious. And they don't shy away from that strangeness in the game. They kind of just lean into it at the right times, so they can be very serious when it wants to be, and then be very humorous when it wants to be. Right. And I get that there's probably people that don't like Final Fantasy because of that, but
same reason people don't like Kingdom Hearts, I think. That fucking weirdness. Although I think Kingdom Hearts is more bizarre.
Kingdom Hearts is more bizarre, and they definitely, they keep it more jovial in general.
Oh, yeah. Right.
I mean, the Disney stuff going on, like, they're not nearly as serious as the Final Fantasy series. Yeah, and I don't know. I still don't think that, yes, while the remake does get into weird time distortion, timeline stuff, and a little bit strange there, it to me doesn't feel like Kingdom Hearts strangeness. It's its own unique strangeness.
It probably feels fucking coherent.
Kind of. I think that's the thing. You finish it, and you will not. It doesn't seem coherent at front, but then you start thinking about things. It does actually help replaying certain parts of the game, because you start noticing things that they've hinted at early in the game, and it's like, oh, it comes. That's why that's there. That's what's going on. You don't have all the answers. It's clearly a first part, but if you go back and look for what the groundwork that they've laid and what they hinted at as you're playing, it's like, oh, you can piece together a lot, and make some pretty good theories on where things are going. So, I don't know. It's a big, long game that was a ton of fun to play. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think obviously I think that's probably what I'm going to play next. I just got it and didn't want to put down God of War until I finished God of War to play that, so I'll probably play 7 next. Just no dearth of long games for me to play. I have such a huge fucking backlog. It's crazy. Man, I want to talk about games I've been playing.
Okay, do it.
And I also want to talk about fucking Watchmen.
Oh.
That we finally finished. My wife was so into it, man.
That's cool.
Yeah, surprised the shit out of me.
Well, let's talk about games we've been playing, and then at the end we can go and talk about some Watchmen.
Sounds good. So I've been playing God of War, man, and this would have been in the running for my 2018 Game of the Year, which Odyssey won. I was just thinking about like why it's so good, and it's so good because the combat is deep but accessible. Like there are lots of different combos you can do, lots of different moves you can do. Having Atreus, different kind of moves that he can do, and upgrading his bow and arrows and things like that. And then your shield combat and your axe combat, and without your axe you have different kind of combat. You can throw your axe, do hand-to-hand combat, and then recall your axe and do some more of that kind of combat and do like these super moves called runics. So there's a lot of strategy involved. It's never boring. And then like the environments are just massive and beautiful, and there's tons of lore, and there's lots of things to collect, but not in a way that's overbearing. There's like a few there's like lore markers, and there's like these crows that you can kill, and a couple other things that kind of add to the story, but they don't seem superfluous. And then the story is just really interesting. Like all these things come together, plus the graphics. Like it's fucking great. I just look forward to playing every night, or every other night.
Every other night.
Yeah. It's the story of this, Kratos, this fucking unfeeling, just rage monster, becoming like a bit more human.
Slightly less rage monster.
Yeah, exactly. And just his interaction with his son, which is really cool. And I've just been, for some reason that we both put it down, for some reason in 2018, but having come back to it, maybe it's a different frame of reference or a different headspace. Like it just feels like a really great game.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've mentioned it. The only reason I put it down, not because it wasn't great, was because it just asked so much of me. One at a time, I just didn't have that much to give. Right. So it exhausted me to play it.
Yeah, it is, and I was texting Brad about it. Like I sit down, usually like 9:30 and play. My cutoff is 11:30. And the other night I was like, it's 11, I'm getting a little tired, I should probably put it down. I'm like, okay, I'll just get to the next piece. And there's no fade to black. There's no camera cut.
Exactly.
There are cut scenes that you like go into and come out of, but there's no natural place to stop. So I end up playing a lot longer than I intend to, and it's kind of a neat trick, but also super engaging to do it that way.
Yeah.
So I definitely get that. And then the other game I'm playing, which is just like such a surprise, is fucking The Wind Waker on Wii U.
I know, you tagged me on Instagram. I was like, holy cow.
Dude, it's
so
fucking
good.
It's crazy. It is really crazy because my daughter, her attention span is fine. She's like a normal kid. But when we play like Donkey Kong or Mario Tennis or whatever, we're good for like 20 minutes. Then she wants to do something else. That's totally fine. That's great because I don't want to do a lot of screen time. But she's been playing with the Toon Link amiibo, which she calls Baby Link. And I was like, do you want to see Baby Link's game? And she's like, yeah. And I pulled open, and it starts with, the first island, and kind of Link wakes up and goes to see his sister in this tower, and then basically the bird comes and takes her. Or no. The bird flies overhead and drops, I forgot what her name is, the pirate girl into the forest. And she's like,
Tetra?
Tetra, yeah, Tetra. It's like, oh, what was that? I was like, oh, that bird dropped a girl into the forest. She's like, go find the girl. Okay. And I went and did a couple of things. I talked to some people in town. She's like, stop talking to people. Go find the girl. So I went, did that. And she just like wants to see what happens next. We played the first day all the way through to the end of the Forsaken Fortress, where you almost get your sister back, and then a bird throws you in the ocean.
Right.
The boat catches you and brings you to shore, and he's like, oh, I want to take you around and help you, but you need to get a sail for me. And I'm like, okay, we're on a new island, there's a new sail, this is a good stopping point. And we had played for like an hour and a half, and she was just wrapped. Not because like the screen thing, but because the fucking story. She wanted to see what would happen next. And after we turned it off, we play acted the first hour and a half of the game with the amiibo, and just like with our bodies for an hour and a half or 2 hours. And we played again today, and we got the sail, and we went to Dragon Roost Island and the dragon on top is angry, and she's like, why is the dragon angry? Let's help him. And just like, she's telling me what to do, and is super interested in the story and wants to know why these people are the way they are, and why did we not get our sister? Why did the bird take the sister? And how are we gonna get her back? And it's just like seriously, like it is so heartwarming to like to see her so interested and engaged. I sort of wish the storyline wasn't go save the girl, you know? I really wish there was like a female main character. I'm definitely like pining for that. But it's really, she's super into it. It's cool.
Yeah, especially from that time period when that game was made. That's not going to happen.
No, of course not. But at least like in the end, like Zelda's like part of the team, like taking down Ganon with the mirror and shit. But I definitely like am like chafing at the story a bit, like, oh, damsel in distress kind of shit. All the girls are being kidnapped. I'm like, fuck. So.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's the only problem with it.
Yeah.
But that's what we've been playing this week.
That's cool. I played a little bit more FF7 Remake, but decided I'm like, all right, I put a lot of time into it. I need to step back a little bit on there. So
right. You played so much in so short a time.
Yeah, which is amazing. I loved it, but yeah, I got to give myself a little bit of breathing room there. Right. Animal Crossing still.
Oh, dude,
constantly new shit in Animal Crossing.
Yeah, I keep seeing stuff about Animal Crossing, and my wife is still like daily asking me, "What the fuck is this thing?" Okay, can I tell you something real quick?
Okay.
So we're fucking riding scooters today with my daughter, and there's chalk art, and our daughter rides over it and stops and looks at it. She's like, "Oh, what is that?" I'm like, "Oh, it's a planet." And my wife says, "No, idiot, that's a beach." I'm like, "Oh, cool, okay, it's a beach, whatever." And then I see a video on Instagram tonight. Gary Witt is doing like a Animal Crossing talk show, and in the corner I see the loading screen, which is a circular like planet-looking thing that looks like a beach. It's like, you know, a beach, basically. You know what the fuck I'm talking about. That little loading screen in the corner.
The little loading thing on Animal Crossing, the little island beach.
Yep.
Like
with the tree.
Bulbous with the tree, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So someone had chalked that on the cement, like a really, really good job. So it was not an island or a beach. It was a fucking Animal Crossing loading
there you
icon. Go. So it's everywhere, man. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh, I know it's everywhere. Its sales numbers are insane.
Yeah.
I think, what did I see? Like they're expecting it to sales. Number one in the UK, returned to number one in the UK. Launch sales surpassed any Mario or Zelda in the US.
Really? Holy shit.
New Horizons launched on the 20th of the Switch. It has already become the best-selling entry in the franchise's history. It's also the country's third best launch for any Nintendo game ever, following Smash Bros. Ultimate and Smash Bros. Brawl.
Wow, those are the top three.
So it's Smash Bros. Ultimate, Smash Bros. Brawl, Animal Crossing New Horizons.
Oh my god, that's crazy.
Which is insane. So I continue to play the game. I won't bore everyone with what I do in the game because it's a lot of chores and stuff, but I like move my house to a new spot. The big thing this week was the Red, who I think is what is he? Is he a fox? What is he? What animal are you, Red?
I'm really enjoying this.
I don't know. I think he's a fox. He has pointy ears and everything. Yeah, I think he's a fox. But he's an art seller. So you meet him for the first time, and you buy a piece of art, and he gets you that, and then you go turn that piece of art into the museum, and then you wait a day, and in your museum opens up an art wing in it, and then Red will start showing up on different days, and he'll have 4 pieces of art in his boat that he comes up in. Some of them are real, some of them are fake. If they're fake, you buy them. They're like 5,000 bells each. If you buy them and they're fake, the museum won't take them, and you can't sell them for much of anything.
So you just lost your money, basically.
Yeah. But the thing is, these are all real-world paintings or sculptures.
Like, is that why I saw people talking about like an app you can use to see what art, like a reverse image search to see if it's real art or something?
Because these are real fucking pieces of art.
Right. Like public domain art.
Yeah, I mean, like very historical. Like the one that I got today. Which one are you? I got the Night Watch by Rembrandt.
Oh, nice.
So that piece will be mailed to me tomorrow. Because you don't buy them there. You can look in his gallery. You can inspect them in the gallery. Say, you can only buy one of the 4. Can't buy them all. You can buy one of the 4, and then it gets mailed to you the next day. And then you can take that to the museum, and you can start filling out your museum's space. And there's a shit ton of spots for art and sculptures. So that's a new thing, and of course the game just keeps on adding more things to collect and find. I think tomorrow at work lunch we're gonna one of the women there has set up her island and a bunch of basically stalls that we can each of us bring our top 9 favorite items that we've bought. And so the thing is, the other way the game works is you go to your stall and you'll drop your 9 items, and then everyone will do what is called a touch party, of course. And you run through and you pick up other people's items and you pick them up and then drop them back down. And it registers it to your catalog so you can go buy it and have it shipped to you.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
So, yeah, we're going to be doing one of those tomorrow. And
having a touch party with colleagues. Sounds good.
Yeah, pretty much. Great way to deal with remote work. Still can touch
that's
party.
True.
So I don't know. It's a crazy game that just it's just a game as the more you put into it, the more you'll get back from it. It's just but it's still at its pace. It's like, no, this is the pace that I do the game, and you play it on its terms to a point. And I see people doing absolutely incredible things with like putting down custom tiles on the ground to like make it look like, instead of grass and sand and an island, it actually looks like concrete, like streets and a town. Like, yeah, you look at some people and you're like, are we even playing the same game? Like, I'm pretty sure you have a different game than me. Just it cannot be the same game. So yeah, it's incredible that way. And then the other thing I've been playing is a shit ton of Final Fantasy 12.
On the Switch, or?
Yep, on the Switch.
How does it play on the Switch?
Fine.
Yeah.
30 FPS. I mean, I can't tell any big difference on it.
Yeah,
the thing is, the Switch has, as of earlier than I think Tuesday this week, the Switch was the only place you could play it where you could reset your jobs freely, and you had 3 gambit sets per character, so you could just program like, oh, this is my boss set, this is my normal set, and so you didn't have to. You could just go, all right, much easier management of gambit sets.
Right.
And that wasn't on the PS4 Zodiac Age or Xbox or PC or anything like that. It got patched in this week.
Wow, I wonder why it was on Switch first.
I assume because the Switch first came out a year and a half after the PS4 Zodiac Age, and they just hadn't taken that stuff back into that version. But it is there now, so anybody that has the Zodiac Age on any system now has all the features. So yeah, the play on a Switch is fantastic. I think I'm up to like 13 hours into it over the week. And I absolutely adore that game.
This is what, third run through, right?
Yeah, actually it's the third run through.
That's cool.
Switch, it's just much easier. Like everything, just play on the Switch, because I can just pick it up and go when I need to, and I can just also sleep it immediately and when I do something else. So
that's part of the Switch, man. Turn off in a second.
I know.
Come back to this later.
And the game still holds up. I really like FF7 Remake. Its combat is way more actiony, and you have to be constantly there. And 12, though, is slower paced combat in general. You set up, but it feels really good when you get your Gambit set up and you can just like run around and just wreck things.
Kind of like automatically, right?
Yeah. And it got a lot of flack for that when it first came out, but I think people are over the time have been like, oh, I see what's going on here. And it's ATB combat. It's more traditional Final Fantasy combat. It's just done in a way that you don't have to just my party's on the right side of the screen, enemies are on the left side of the screen, go back and forth. It's like, no, you just run around. And the great thing is you've programmed the AI for all your characters, so they do the things that you want them to do, especially when you want to grind or just get certain things. Go to town. It takes a lot of the work out of the grinding part. So yeah, I just enjoy it from a mechanic standpoint. And it has Balthier in it, who's the best character ever. I will fight anyone on that one. Balthier is the best.
Well, he's the voice actor you were talking about last time that's in Final Fantasy.
Biggs. Right? He's Biggs in FF7 remake. He's also in Destiny 2. He's one of the who's he in Destiny 2? Gideon Emery. What are you in Destiny 2? He's been in so many games. He's the Crusader in Diablo 3, male Crusader in Diablo 3.
Yeah, right.
And he's Devrim K in Destiny 2.
Yeah,
he's Devrim K, voice, Balthier, and a bunch of stuff. He's been in Halo. He was in Halo Wars as, I don't even know, Captain James Cutter. He was unit voices in StarCraft 2, different versions of StarCraft 2. Like, I don't know. He's been around. He's a pretty well-known voice actor throughout. But I really, really enjoyed his take on Balthier. It's just the writing in 12. I like the localization of it a lot.
It was a Shakespearean one, wasn't it?
It was much more. It's not Shakespeare, but it definitely has that more flowery language throughout and consistently throughout. It's not like it's just randomly there. It's just like, no, this is the tone of this localization. It's like very high fantasy and flowery, and you enjoy it or not, and I really enjoy it.
It was on Switch. It was on sale on Switch last week, and I almost bought it. But I was like, I have it on PS4. I'm not going to buy a game again.
Why not?
Because I
thought about buying it for the PC now, because it's on sale on Steam right now for half off.
Yeah, that's what it was on Switch. Like, nah.
The PC is the only place that I know that you can play it at 60 FPS.
Yeah.
I'm like, do I want it on PC? I can just do it again.
You probably will before.
At some point in my life, I'm sure.
The end of days, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what the two games I've been spending my time with.
Cool.
Just kind of between those.
We've both been spending a lot of time with older games. Man, Wind Waker fucking holds up, by the way. Shit,
I'm sure it does.
God damn.
I thought about going. That's one that I wish, because the HD version was only on the Wii U, right?
That's right.
Yeah, I really want them to let's just bring that HD version to the Switch, please.
Please do. Man, that's such a great game.
I just want to go back. Wind Waker is second. Well, now I guess it's my
third.
Yeah, because Breath of the Wild kind of took up some spots there. But it's really good. I have so much fond memories of Wind Waker. I love the look of it, though. The characters and how... I remember getting so much shit because it was going to be so cartoony, and I'm like, and still screenshots, yeah, you're like, what is this? But once you see an emotion and how they change, like, the characters' facial animations and stuff, I'm like, this is amazing. Like, it's so good.
It really is. And it's timeless, you know? I know that I'm playing the HD version, but...
Sure. Man, I mean, the HD version, more than anything, is just, it is running at higher resolution, but the art style hasn't changed.
Right.
Like, it's still cel-shaded toon stylings, and that holds up really well. So
I wonder if that's part of what's appealing to my daughter. Like, she just likes... she just melted into it, man. Like, I've never... You know, like how I melt into a game, she just did. Man, just wanted to know what's next.
And it's not
so good.
Complicated story.
No, it's not complicated, and it's not really violent. Like, I fought a couple of monsters in my 4 hours with the game so far, and they like dissolve into smoke. Like, whatever.
I love that smoke effect when they die.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. No, she's... Oh, man. So good.
All right.
So that's our video game portion of the podcast. We're going to move into talking a little bit about Watchmen. So if you don't care about TV shows, it's been really great to have you here. And we'll see you next week when we're talking about Assassin's Creed Valhalla, maybe?
Yeah. And yeah, if you care about spoilers, don't listen now, because I would recommend, if you're at all interested in Watchmen, don't get spoiled. Just watch it.
That's right.
It's so good. And I do think it's great just watching it with fresh eyes. It'll be a great experience for you. So yes, if you care about spoilers, step away now.
We'll see you next week. Oh man. Okay. So Watchmen. So somehow wrangled my wife into watching it. She does not do sci-fi at all. And I found out the key is like to have a strong female character that is like really engaging. And smart and like not just like atypical, like in terms of like script writing. Like it was just so engaging. But the first 5 episodes, we were just like, what the fuck is happening?
Exactly.
And then you hit episode 6, and I think that's the nostalgia episode.
Yeah.
And moving forward, like everything that was set up in the first 5 episodes fucking pays off over and over and over again. It is so satisfying. Down to the last scene with the fucking egg.
Yep.
Oh my god, so good. And I was just like, as she steps out, Abar steps out onto that pool, and I was like, this is gonna be like Inception. They're gonna stop before she starts to walk on the fucking water.
I think you can take. I mean, I will go with the fact that she has some form of powers at this point.
Yes, for sure.
Honestly, in some ways, because of the musical choice that they chose at the end there, the credits go out with Eggman.
Right? Yeah, it does. Mm-hmm. I started singing it, and my wife's like, how do you know that song? I was like, it's the fucking Beatles. She's like, yeah, but you don't know the Beatles. You don't like the Beatles.
Like, and I kind of take that as the song chosen there to be as the, like, reinforcing that egg was very important, and she has powers now, even if you don't have to see it. And yeah, they don't need to show it. I'm glad they didn't show it specifically. Left that ambiguous. But yeah, episode 6 was the episode that just, like, I enjoyed the first 5. Like, I liked the characters. I thought the writing was really well done. Mm-hmm. The setups were interesting. It felt like it was moving along. But yeah, there's a lot of like, what the fuck is going on? Like, a lot of questions, and it's also Lindelof. Which are like, son of a bitch, you're gonna set up all these questions and they're not gonna get answered, or
and
like
not answer a single
where's my
one,
mystery boxes and no payoff.
Yep, exactly. That's what when I told my wife halfway through that was the Lost guy, she was like, oh fuck, we're not gonna find out anything at the end.
And then you hit episode 6 and you start, and which is one of the best hours of TV I've ever seen.
Oh, absolutely.
From writing to how it's directed, how it's edited. The mixing of color and black and white, and like, it is a masterpiece of television.
Absolutely,
and
agreed.
It better win a bunch of awards, because
I hope so.
It's so good. And it was one of the first really one of the first things I've seen in a long time that really gets you in the head of what systemic racism is. Like, very bluntly, and it puts the viewer in that position. And it's like, finally, like, this cares about showing the injustices in racial society, which the whole series was about, like, from the start of the first episode to the end. Like, that is a big piece through the whole thing. But episode 6 was one of the first times it's like, this is an important hour of television, I think.
It really, it showed, it didn't tell.
Yeah.
What that racism was, man. And the way that it looked, the way that it started to, like, solidify the story. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen, like, a single episode in a series just, like, be the pivot point where, like, everything just starts snapping into focus. God.
Yeah, because there's that one, and then you get to the 7 where she's kind of the aftermath. That's where, like, she's hooked up to the machine and trying to, like, come back to reality, and she's
it's the elephant.
And then she, like, that's where they bring in. That's at the end where you're like, oh, who's Dr. Manhattan? Oh, who's Dr. Man? And so this is the thing about it, and it wasn't just me, but before she actually found out, you find out, or the show shows you that Cal is Dr. Manhattan. I already had the sense that it was Cal.
I only had a sense that it was...
Not in a like, it's for sure, but it was like, it's just why I'm like, is it, like my mind immediately went to, is it Cal? Like questioning that, like, could it be? And I'm like, oh, is that just me? But other people I've talked to have also had that same thing, which I can only take as that the writing was good enough to get that possibility in your head that you didn't even realize that was like there. But things made sense enough that it started clicking into place.
It must have been the same for me because there was a point in, I think, episode 6 or 7, probably 7, where they mentioned his amnesia.
Yeah.
Or no, it was something like amnesia doesn't happen in real life; it only happens in soap operas or whatever. And I was like, oh shit, he's Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah, you have something. You have at least a piece, and you're like, oh, okay. And if you're paying attention, you notice this stuff. Which is a show that expects the audience to pay attention. Like, it's not spoon feeding you everything constantly. It's like, no, someone watching the show is gonna think about it, and we expect them to think about it, which is great. I appreciate that. But yeah, the reveal on that one that Cal was Dr. Manhattan, which tied it back to the comic really well. Like, oh, okay. And then 8 was a god walks into a bar, which I love that episode.
Oh, it was so good because when it was like, oh my god, talking about, he comes in, sits down with her, and is like, I'm with you, but I'm also in the past and the future right now, and like the things that they set up in that conversation pay off in the next episode.
Yeah.
Oh god.
So well, and it's just them sitting there having a conversation. Like, it's a very small, intimate episode for the most part. And I was enthralled by it the entire time. And yeah, it sets up so much. God, that was good. Just on what was the line in it that is by definition, don't all relationships end in tragedy?
Oh yeah, totally. So, well, yeah, I guess that's a fair point.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. It was just a good line. Like, there's a lot of just good lines of writing in the show. Poignant, and then it all comes full circle in the final episode. I can't believe they made a sequel to Watchmen, and it worked.
I mean, I wonder how I'd feel if I read the comic game again, but when I read it before, I just wasn't really in the right space to understand it. I read it in college, I think. But I feel like I'd have a much better appreciation of it now. But that show...
I think the show, the thing is, as a sequel, it makes the graphic novel better. That's the thing about it that is crazy.
Yeah, right.
Which was what you always hope a sequel will do.
Right.
And it works. And it works really well. It fills in Hooded Justice story. I mean, there was no real backstory to Hooded Justice and Watchmen. It was just the first superhero was Hooded Justice.
Right.
But it wasn't really explained. It was a big thread, and this show actually makes that meaningful. Who that character was, why they were Hooded Justice, and how that legacy continues.
I love the part where it's like the only thing that's exposed are his eyes, and they're makeup white.
Yeah.
So that he seems like a white character when he's not.
Yep.
It's such a smart way to... I don't know how that character was portrayed in Watchmen, but probably white.
I mean, people assumed. They just made the assumption. Like, why wouldn't he be white? And that's where this, like, totally flipped it on its head. And I think truly makes that character mean more now if you go back and read the original comic. It's the thing. I cannot believe they made a sequel to Watchmen that worked and made the whole everything better because of it. Like, it shouldn't have. That should have never had a sequel ever.
Right.
And it did. And I don't think we'll get a sequel to this series.
Well, when they asked Lindelof, he said nope.
Yeah, I think there was at one point where they talked like maybe, like, but I think it's been pretty clear now that it's like, nah, I don't I don't think they've cracked any story that would be a suiting follow-up. So,
right. Unless you have like a spin-off where it's just like Angela Abar's story.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's really what they want to do. It's funny because it came out really the same time as his Dark Materials, and that was supposed to be like the big HBO new thing, and that I haven't heard much about it because everyone's talking about Watchmen.
No, and I tried watching a little bit of his Dark Materials stuff, and it's okay. It wasn't great, is the thing. It wasn't bad, it just wasn't anything I would say special, and Watchmen was pretty freaking special. I will say, don't watch the Zack Snyder movie, or watch the Zack Snyder movie, so you can actually see how the TV show throws shade at that movie pretty constantly.
That's interesting.
Yeah, the show is. There are some not so subtle things in the show to make fun of the movie.
Oh man, that's awesome. Do you have any? Can you remember anything?
God, what did they? Well, so in a weird way, a lot of that American Hero story.
Oh yeah.
The show within a show of Watchmen.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Where it's like hyper violent and everything.
Yep. Uh-huh.
It's very reminiscent of Zack Snyder Watchmen, like how it's filmed and ultra violent and like dark and gritty. And
TM.
Yeah, they do a lot of stuff like there's that. They explicitly give the movie the big giant finger, right? Because they have the big squid in the TV show, like because the movie doesn't have the giant squid. They changed the ending of Watchmen to not be a giant psychic alien squid. It's Dr. Man. They make the end monster actually just Dr. Manhattan. That's because clearly at the time they didn't think they could get away with doing a giant psychic squid and people buying it, but
right, it takes a certain class of audience to like be okay with that.
Yeah.
Like that was not a thing that my wife was like, "What's this?" I was just like, "Okay, whatever."
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the
it was good.
Big events, and that's the show is like we are a sequel to the comic, not the movie. So, and we are different in those ways.
Well, the comic's on sale again on Comixology. Maybe I'll have to pick it up and go back through it. I think I might have a different appreciation for it now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a thing. I read it originally pretty mid-2000s. I started working at PopCap, and someone had it there, and they're like, "Oh, you have never read it?" And they had like this like big hardback version of it, and so they just like, "You should read it. You'll enjoy it." And I read it, and I was like, "It is good. I see why it's listed as like a very important work of fiction."
Yeah.
Because it's not like comics of that day. Like,
no,
it's actually serious and it has a lot to say.
Right. Made comics serious.
Yeah.
Quote unquote.
So, I don't know. Yeah, the TV show is fantastic, and I can't really think of anything I would be like, give me more of it. I'm like, I like that it stands on its own and improves what came before and doesn't require any other story after. Like, it's 9 episodes, and it's
just totally self-contained.
Amazing story.
Yep.
Awesome.
Absolutely. When it ended, my wife was like, "What the fuck do we watch now?"
Takes a little bit because it was really good.
We're gonna watch Parks and Rec this week. That's what we're watching.
Okay.
They have a new episode, man.
Okay.
Dude, come on. Greatest sitcom ever.
I'd have to watch
and they have a new episode. Come on. I'm so excited. Anyway, that was our television podcast.
It's true. I'm surprised your wife watched through the whole thing too. And I'm glad she enjoyed it.
Me too.
It's good writing, man. And a good story.
So good. And she was way into it. Well, that's Prof and Death Play Games. We are episode 240. 240, bro.
Oh, man.
Light one up. That's not right.
No.
We'll see you next week because we ain't going anywhere.
Nope.
And probably neither are you.
Nope.
All right, folks. See you then.
Later.